Welcome to the peak performance video on the NV series trolling motor. This is probably the most popular trolling motor in our line for the spread of options that we have. We've got 32-pound thrust options that graduate up all the way to 86-pound thrust options. Everything in the line runs off of 12-volt power aside from the 86-pound motor. That'll run off 24-volt power. This video is going to help you dial in the performance of your motor depending on the watercraft that you have it mounted on. It's really neat that this is such a versatile motor that can adapt to everything from a SUP to a kayak to a small inflatable dinghy or john boat. The way that you use the motor will depend on the watercraft that you're mounting it on. So the best performance comes down to maintenance of the electrical connectors and the power source and the articulating features on the motor, and B, how you adjust the adjustable features on the motor. There's three main adjustable features you'll want to get familiar with. One is the direction lock. Secondly is the adjustment height to adjust the shaft length. So everything up to the 62-pound motor has an adjustable 30-inch shaft length. The 62 and the 86-pound motors have a 36-inch adjustable shaft length. So you can really dial it into your precise running depth required for your watercraft and the body of water that you're fishing on. The third adjustable feature is the tilt mechanism. So you'll use this to either offset the posture of your boat or to stow the motor in launching and landing and transportation. I'll start by covering the adjustment height and how that plays into your performance. This collar comes into play once you have backed off the knob for the direction lock. So this is going to act as a stopper to only allow the motor to run at a certain depth. So this controls the maximum running depth. So in other words, if you have it all the way up, you don't even really need to tighten it down if it's all the way up, but if you have it all the way up and the direction lock is opened up, your motor is going to deploy and it's going to stop right there. If you want to lessen the running depth, you'll simply slide the collar down the shaft, make sure it's nice and snug, and then that's going to, on deployment, allow the motor to only run at, say 20 inches of running depth. The one thing that you do want to be sure of is that the adjustment height collar is in such a position that allows the entire motor and prop to be well underwater. So you don't want to create cavitation, or you don't want the prop spinning in and catching any air. You want that prop totally underwater so you can get the maximum amount of thrust and efficiency out of the prop. Now let's cover the direction lock. This is a really popular performance feature when this is mounted on a kayak or anything with a rudder, even a small sailboat that's rudder steered. You'll find the straight position and tighten this knob down. That's going to fix the direction of the motor in the straight position. This will allow you to utilize the rudder that's integrated into your watercraft for steering. In that circumstance, when you have the direction lock knob tightened all the way down, it's also gonna act as your adjustment height. So you wanna make sure that when you're using the direction lock feature, you've got your motor set at the correct running depth to begin with, because it won't deploy and the shaft won't slide through. So the shaft is only gonna slide through when you have that opened up. This knob serves both adjustment height and direction lock when you have that direction lock engaged and that knob tightened all the way down. A circumstance where I utilize the tilt mechanism is, say, if it gets really windy and you have a lot of chop coming straight at you and you want to posture your bow up a little bit, I'll actually trim the motor up slightly just to pull the bow up a little bit going into the conditions. That'll help you stay a little drier and help your small watercraft become a little more seaworthy go up and over rather than poke through the conditions. So that can be really handy there. It can also be used to enhance your speed. So if you've got a heavy bow, again, you'd trim it up to get that watercraft more level. This is mostly, you know, with the power and thrust of this motor and the style of watercraft, you're probably not gonna reach a planing speed. So it's at that point acting as a displacement hole. Most kayaks are designed that way. John boats don't typically plane very well either. So, you know, you wanna find a nice balance to your watercraft to get the maximum amount of glide and efficiency out of the hull. So that's where this comes into play. Over time, you'll get an understanding of how these settings affect your range and efficiency. So, you know, I would say that after probably the third use with this motor, you have a really good understanding of kind of your presets on all these performance features on the motor. One thing that plays into the performance as well is this tiller handle. So this handle extends out if you need it to extend a little closer to the user, and this is just a comfort thing. So there's also 3 lengths of tiller extension handles that you can adapt for extra length. So if you're sitting midship on an inflatable or you're in a kayak seat that's positioned far away from the stern, you can add up to 32 inches of length on top of this handle. That just helps enhance your comfort on the water and gives you a better boating experience and honestly better overall control of the motor. You'll notice that you've got 5 forward speeds in the clockwise rotation and 3 reverse speeds in the counterclockwise rotation. The 3 reverse speeds is pretty much all you need in reverse. Most vessels aren't designed to go in reverse very fast anyway, so the 3rd level on the thrust in reverse is going to be plenty of power in reverse for any small watercraft. One thing that'll really help you reach peak performance with the NV series motor is I like to treat all these terminals and electrical components before my maiden voyage, especially if you're fishing in salt water. This is really going to help enhance the electrical conductivity and prolong the life of all this metal componentry associated with the motor. I like this CRC dielectric grease. This leaves a nice long-lasting coating on all the electrical connectors and exposed metal. So I'll just spray that and let it dry. That leaves that nice anti-corrosive coating over everything. This is super important for my maintenance practices, especially in salt water. The last and possibly most important step in the peak performance of this NV series motor is the prop. You want a smooth functioning prop, and you want the prop blades intact and with clean edges. Sometimes when you're out fishing, it's out of your control. You may run over seagrass or get fishing line tangled around the prop shaft. Good thing it's really easy to remove the prop simply by backing this nut off and sliding the prop out. If you take a heavy impact on an obstacle you didn't anticipate, you can also pull the prop off and replace the alignment pin. Sometimes if the pin gets a little bit bent on contact, it can create some unwanted vibration in the prop. So in that circumstance, you would just pull the prop off, replace the pin, slide the prop back on, and you're in business. We offer replacement pins in packs of 3, so you can purchase those. We also offer replacement prop blades. If you're somebody who's fishing amongst oyster bars, tough launch ramps, things like that, you may want to keep a prop and a pack of alignment pins on hand. I know that it's out of our control, but sometimes on a fairly regular basis, we do run aground or hit an obstacle that we didn't anticipate. So periodically, just to check that your prop shaft is smooth, you want to pull this off. Counterclockwise rotation of the nut allows you to remove the prop, slide that off. You can clear any unwanted debris, fishing line, and you can also lubricate the shaft with some anti-corrosive spray or marine grease. That really helps the performance of the prop. And yeah, this is your main method of propulsion, so you want this working smoothly, and it really takes about 3 to 5 minutes to service. Just pull the prop off and pop it right back on once it's clean. Thanks for tuning in to the peak performance video on the NV series trolling motor. Hopefully this will allow you to get the best performance, longest life, and most power out of your motor. Have fun out there on the water, and remember, the way forward is electric.